Health Watch, some researchers now say empathy is on the decline in our society. A study from Michigan State University found Americans rank number 7 in the world for empathy, but it also found a shift in recent decades, suggesting younger generations now tend to focus more on their own needs and not on the needs of others. Jamil Zaki is a psychology professor at Stanford University. He's also the author of The War for Kindness, and he joins us now. So, Professor, explain how does empathy relate to kindness, and where do kindness and empathy come from? I have an idea, but I want to hear what your research says.
Well, I mean, empathy is our ability to connect with each other emotionally. And evidence suggests that it's helped us become the successful species that we are. Human beings aren't the fastest or strongest animals on Earth, but we're great at helping each other. And our ability to understand and share what other people feel inspires that sort of cooperation and kindness. And there's also evidence that empathy doesn't just help the people we help, it also helps us. For instance, individuals who experience lots of empathy tend to be mentally healthier, have stronger relationships, and be more professionally successful.
Does empathy, in the way that you describe it, does that come from the ability, one's ability to put yourself, frankly, for lack of a simpler term, in the shoes of the other person, to sort of put yourself in the mindset or walk another person's path and get a sense of what that is like so that you can somehow understand an individual's story or an individual's life without actually having lived his or her life?
Yeah, that's a great explanation of it. And yeah, I do think that empathy is in essence the combination of our imagination and our emotional lives, right? So it's our ability to understand that someone else's experience, even if, as you say, it's different from our own, is just as real and deep as ours. To imagine it, and then from that imagination to get a visceral, sort of bodily sense of what it might feel like to be them. And our bodies and brains help us do this. So for instance, if I see you experience pain, parts of my brain that are associated with me being in pain, that would come online if I got zapped with an electric shock, for instance, will also come online when I see you in pain. It's as though in my body and brain I'm sharing exactly what you are going through.
And so your book describes the fact that in your analysis, empathy is declining, and specifically here in this country. Why is that?
Well, it's hard to say exactly why empathy is on the decline because history is not an experiment that you can repeat over and over again, tinkering with different parts of it. But the 3 or 4 decades during which empathy has been on the decline coincide with a couple of different things. For instance, increasing political polarization and a kind of fracturing of our media landscape, where now the information and opinions that you hear depend fundamentally on what you want to hear. So people are sort of pushing themselves further into these echo chambers and silos, and that makes it harder to reach across that divide and understand, as you put it, what someone else's life might be like, what it might be like to walk in their shoes.
So there is hope for the future, is what you're saying.
I do think that there's hope. In the book, I try to describe that one of the myths about empathy is that it's a trait, that you're born with some level of empathy and there's nothing that you can do to connect better with people. But in fact, empathy is also something like a skill. And through the right habits and practices, we can get better at connecting with others, even in circumstances where it might be difficult, like connecting with people who look or think differently than ourselves.
Yeah, I think that, at least when it comes to myself, that's the goal in life, right? To try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes and to see their struggle and their joys and try to put that in the perspective of your own life. It's a really fascinating book, and I'm really so happy to be able to talk to you about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.